The night sky over the barren moon of Haven 9 was cold and silent. Wind blew fine red dust across the empty plains, whispering like ghosts through broken fences and old machines. Inside a small workshop built from old starship metal, Eli Turner was repairing an engine part under dim light. His hands were rough from work, his eyes tired but steady. He was a single father, and everything he did, every screw turned and every wire fixed, was for his little daughter. Hope, just 8 years old, sat near the heater, drawing shapes on a piece of metal scrap. "Daddy," she asked softly, "do you think Mommy can see us from the stars?" Eli paused, his hand tightening on the wrench. "Yeah, sweetheart," he said gently. "She's watching us. That's why we keep going, no matter how hard it gets." Their small house trembled slightly as wind hit the walls. Life on Haven 9 was hard. The air was thin, the crops didn't grow well, and trade ships rarely came anymore. But Eli stayed. He had no choice. Earth was too far, and travel too costly. So he built a life out of scraps and hope. That night, as he turned off the generator, a bright streak flashed across the sky. At first he thought it was a meteor, but then the ground shook. A crash echoed from the western ridge, followed by a column of blue smoke rising into the sky. Hope jumped up. "Daddy, what was that?" Eli grabbed his old coat and flashlight. "Stay inside, Hope. Lock the door." "I'll go check." She looked scared. "What if it's dangerous?" He smiled faintly. "If it is, I'll run back faster than you can count to 10. He stepped into the cold desert, his boots sinking into fine dust. The light in the sky had faded, but the smoke still glowed faint blue. It took him almost an hour to reach the crash site. When he finally climbed the ridge, what he saw made him stop in awe. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship. Small, silver, and unlike any Terran model he had ever seen. The hull pulsed softly with blue light, like a living thing breathing in pain. One side was cracked open, wires hanging out and flickering with sparks. Eli approached slowly. "Hello? Anyone alive in there?" A weak sound came from inside, a voice faint and musical. Then a figure crawled out of the smoke. It was a woman, or something close to it. Her eyes glowed gold in the dark, and 2 small, pointed ears rose from her soft hair. She wore a torn flight suit with strange markings. She collapsed at his feet. Hey, easy now." Eli dropped to his knees. Her breathing was shallow, and her skin felt warm, almost too warm. She tried to speak, but her language was strange, full of soft tones and clicks. Then she passed out completely. Eli looked around. The wrecked ship hummed weakly, lights fading. He couldn't just leave her there. No one could survive a Haven 9 night in the open. So he lifted her carefully and started the long walk home through the freezing wind. When he reached the workshop, Hope was waiting by the door, eyes wide. "Daddy, who's that?" Eli laid the stranger on the couch near the heater. "I don't know." She crashed nearby. "Looks hurt. Get me the medkit." Hope ran to fetch it, and together they treated the burns and small cuts. The alien's body was strange. Her blood shimmered faintly blue, and a fine layer of golden fur lined her neck. But her face looked peaceful, almost human. "Is she going to be okay?" Hope whispered. "I hope so," Eli said. "We'll find out in the morning." He covered the stranger with a blanket and sat beside the heater until he fell asleep. When morning came, the stranger stirred. She blinked slowly, golden eyes adjusting to the dim light. Her ears twitched as she looked around. Eli was sitting across the room, repairing a broken drone. Hope peeked out from behind a crate, curious but shy. When the woman tried to sit up, she winced. Eli stood quickly. "Easy, you're safe." She looked at him, confused. "Who, man?" she said uncertainly, her voice soft and melodic. "That's right," he said gently. "I'm Eli. You crashed. I brought you here." She touched her chest where the burns had healed slightly. "I am Lyra," she said slowly, forming the words carefully. "Scout of Solari Fleet." Eli frowned. "Never heard of it." "You're far from home, I guess?" Lyra's expression darkened. "Raiders attacked. I escaped. Ship. broken. She looked around the room at the tools, at the curious child, and finally at Eli. "You fix machines?" He nodded. "It's what I do." "Then maybe," she said softly, "you fix mine?" Eli glanced toward the ridge through the window. "That wreck. I can try, but it's a mess." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then I owe you." The next few days were filled with work. Eli spent his mornings scavenging parts from old junkyards and evenings repairing the alien ship. Lyra, though weak, insisted on helping. She was quick to learn English, picking up words by watching and listening. Hope followed her everywhere, fascinated.
"Miss Lyra, why do your ears move like that?"
Lyra tilted her head, amused. "They hear what yours cannot. The heartbeats of wind," Hope giggled. "That's funny." Lyra smiled. "Maybe, but they also hear truth." Eli often watched them from a distance, his daughter laughing for the first time in months. He hadn't seen Hope so happy since her mother died. Lyra brought warmth into their cold little home, not just with her strange glowing eyes, but with her kindness at night. When the temperature dropped below freezing, Lyra's body emitted a gentle heat. One evening, the generator failed completely, and the house went dark. The cold crept in fast, making Hope shiver. Without hesitation, Lyra sat beside her and wrapped her arms around the child. Her warmth spread like sunlight. Hope soon fell asleep, smiling. Eli stood in the doorway, watching silently. For the first time in years, his heart ached in a different way. Not from loss, but from something unfamiliar: gratitude, connection. Lyra noticed him and whispered, "She sleeps safe now." He nodded quietly. "Thank you." By the end of the week, the ship's outer hull was repaired, but its power core was still unstable. Eli worked long hours trying to fix it. Lyra stayed close, learning his tools and helping where she could. One afternoon, she brought him water and sat beside him as he worked. "You are different," she said thoughtfully. "Other humans I meet in battle, they shout, 'Destroy.' You fix." Eli wiped sweat from his brow. "Not all of us want to fight. Some of us just want to keep things working." She looked at him with quiet admiration. "That is strength too." When he looked back at her, he found himself smiling. "You're full of surprises." Lyra tilted her head, ears twitching playfully. "So are you." Their laughter echoed softly through the hangar, but peace didn't last. Late one night, while Eli was checking the generator, a sharp alarm blared from Lyra's ship. She ran in, her golden eyes glowing brighter than ever. "Raiders," she said urgently. "They found me." Outside, the dark sky flashed with distant lights, ships descending fast. Eli grabbed his old rifle, though he knew it was nearly useless against space raiders. Hope clung to his leg, frightened. "Daddy, don't go." He knelt beside her. "Stay here, honey. No matter what happens, stay hidden." Lyra turned to him. "I will fight. They come for me." Eli shook his head. "You're not fighting alone." When the first drone swooped down, firing at the workshop, Eli fired back, hitting one with a lucky shot. The explosion lit the night. Lyra raised her hands, forming a shimmering gold shield that deflected another blast. Eli was amazed. "You can do that?" She didn't answer, too focused on protecting them. The air hummed with energy as more drones approached. Together, they fought Eli, repairing the shield generator mid-battle. Lyra countering the drones with her strange light-based weapon. The noise shook the desert. Finally, the last drone crashed into the sand, smoke rising. The silence afterward was heavy. Lyra dropped to her knees, exhausted. Eli caught her before she fell. "It's over," he whispered. But when they looked toward her ship, it was half destroyed again, hit by stray fire. Lyra's face fell. "My ship, gone." Eli looked at her quietly, then sighed. "Then I guess you're stuck here for a while." She looked up, her golden eyes soft. "You saved me twice, Eli Turner. On my world, that means life bond." He raised an eyebrow. "We don't have that custom here, and your world has no honor," she said simply. Eli laughed, despite the exhaustion. "Maybe, but we've got coffee." Lyra tilted her head, confused but smiling. Then teach me this coffee. Over the next few days, they repaired what they could of the house and ship remains. Lyra helped Eli rebuild the generator using small energy cells from her wrecked craft. Together, they made it work again, brighter and more stable than before. Hope ran around cheering. You did it. The lights are back. Eli smiled tiredly. Thanks to our guest. Lyra's tail, small and silver-furred, flicked slightly in amusement. Guest? She asked. I think I stay longer. Hope clapped her hands. Yay. You can stay with us forever. Eli chuckled. Let's start with a while, okay? Lyra's expression softened. A while is enough. That night, when the wind howled outside and the stars shone through the cracked window, Ilya sat near the heater while Hope slept. Lyra stood quietly beside him. You work too much, she said gently. Someone has to keep things running. Lyra tilted her head. Maybe someone should keep you running. He looked at her, caught off guard. She smiled softly, her eyes glowing warm gold. On my world, we take care of those who fix what others break. Eli didn't know what to say. The silence between them was peaceful. Then she stepped closer, touching the side of his arm lightly. You fixed my ship, she said quietly. But maybe I was the broken one. Before he could reply, she turned and walked toward the window, watching the desert sky. Her reflection shimmered in the glass golden. Weeks passed on the red moon of Haven 9. Life slowly changed for Eli Turner and his daughter. Hope, the small house that once echoed only with wind, now carried the sounds of laughter, footsteps, and a strange new music. The voice of Lyra, the alien fox girl who had fallen from the stars. Lyra had decided to stay. Her ship lay beyond repair, its engine shattered, but she said she didn't mind. She called the house her new den, and that word made Hope giggle every time. Eli rebuilt the broken generator with her help, and together they made the little workshop brighter than it had ever been. Hope helped plant small alien seeds Lyra had brought from her homeworld, and to everyone's surprise, they grew even in Haven Nin's dry soil. The place was changing, softer, warmer, more alive. Lyra learned quickly. She could already speak clear English, though her sentences still had an odd rhythm. Sometimes she mixed words in funny ways that made Hope laugh. You call this sandwich, she'd say while trying to cook, but no sand inside. Confusing. Eli smiled more these days. He didn't say it out loud, but Lyra had brought light back into his life. Still, he didn't quite understand her. She was gentle, but there was something strong about her too, a quiet pride. Sometimes she'd sit outside at night, gazing at the stars with her golden eyes glowing softly. One evening, Eli joined her. The two sat on the porch as a cool wind swept through the desert. Hope was already asleep inside. Do you miss your home? Eli asked. Lyra didn't look away from the sky. Sometimes. My world had twin suns and forests that sang in the wind. I miss the scent of rain. But here, she looked at him, smiling softly. Here I have quiet. I have warmth. He looked at her curiously. Warmth. She pointed toward the window where Hope slept. The little one. And you. Eli felt a small tug in his chest. We're not much, he said quietly. Just trying to survive. Lyra tilted her head. Humans always say that. But you do more than survive. You rebuild. We chuckled. Maybe. For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the wind. Lyra's tail brushed against the wooden floor, glowing faintly under starlight. She looked peaceful, and for the first time, so did Eli. The next morning, Hope woke to find Lyra trying to cook breakfast again. She had managed to make something that looked like pancakes, but smelled slightly metallic. Eli entered the kitchen, raising an eyebrow. What are those? Lyra frowned at the pan. I followed recipe. Human food strange. No taste of sky, Hope giggled. You forgot sugar again. Lyra pouted. Your sugar hides from me. Eli laughed and showed her where it was kept. The sound of laughter filled the small house again, and for a moment it felt like they were a family. A strange one, but a family nonetheless. Later that day, Lyra helped Eli repair a broken crawler engine in the yard. Her delicate fingers were fast, and her sense of hearing helped her detect the smallest clicks in the machinery. "You're good at this?" Eli said. Lyra smiled proudly. "I learned from best human mechanic on Haven 9. He grinned. "You mean the only mechanic on Haven 9? She tilted her head. "Then I learned from rarest one. Couldn't help but laugh. You're impossible." But not every day was peaceful. One afternoon, while Eli was out gathering supplies, a trader ship landed nearby. The visitors saw Lyra and were startled. Her fox-like ears and glowing eyes frightened them. They whispered words like mutant and creature. Lyra stayed silent, but their fear cut deep. When Eli returned, he found her sitting alone outside, staring at the sand. "What happened?" he asked gently. "They fear me," she said softly. "To them, I am not person. Just story to tell later." Eli sat beside her. "Don't let that get to you." "People fear what they don't understand," Lyra turned, her eyes toward him. "And you never feared me?" He shook his head. "You crashed into my life like a storm. But no, I was too busy trying to fix things." She smiled faintly. "Then you fixed me too." He didn't reply, but the warmth in his chest said enough. Days turned into months. Hope grew taller, stronger, happier. She followed Lyra everywhere, learning about stars, alien words. In strange games that involved tracing patterns in the sand, Lyra grew fond of both of them, especially Eli. She often watched him work. His hands steady and patient, his voice calm even when things broke. To her, that patience was rare. Among her people, strength meant power and command. Among humans, strength looked like kindness, and she admired that more than she could ever explain. One night, after Hope went to sleep, Lyra approached Eli while he sat fixing a broken radio. "Eli Turner," she said softly. "On my world, when someone saves another's life twice, they share future together. It is old law." He glanced up confused. "Share the future. You mean marriage?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, we call it soul bond." "But same." Eli almost dropped his tool. "You're serious?" Her ears twitched slightly. "Very. You fixed my ship, saved my life, and gave me place to stay. Now law says I must care for you until I die." He chuckled awkwardly. "We don't have that law here." Lyra looked thoughtful. "Then your laws are strange. Who takes care of heroes here?" He blinked. "Heroes. I'm no hero. You're to me," she said simply. Then she turned and walked away, leaving him staring after her. Unsure whether to laugh or blush, the next few days were awkward. Eli tried to act normal, but Lyra's words echoed in his mind. Every time their eyes met, he felt a strange mix of confusion and warmth. Hope noticed it too. "Daddy," she whispered one morning while eating breakfast, "Miss Lyra looks at you funny." Eli coughed. "What do you mean funny?" "Like she wants to tell you a secret, but won't." He laughed nervously. "You're imagining things." Hope tilted her head. "Maybe, but you look at her funny too." Eli pretended not to hear that. One day a dust storm rolled over the valley. The wind roared so loud it shook the house. The power flickered and went out. Hope ran to her father, frightened. "It's okay," he said, hugging her. "Just another storm?" Lyra lit up faintly, her body glowing golden. She walked to the window and placed her hand against the glass. The energy around her shimmered, and soon a soft warmth spread through the room. "Your heater will not hold," she said. "I will." Eli stared. "You can control heat like that?" She nodded. "My body stores sunlight. Good for cold nights." Hope climbed onto her lap, snuggling close. "You're warm like a blanket." Lyra smiled softly. "Then I be your blanket." Eli watched them both, his heart heavy with emotion. His small, cold world, once filled with silence, now felt alive again. After the storm, Lyra fell ill. Using her energy for too long had drained her body. She tried to hide it. But Eli noticed when she collapsed while helping Hope plant seeds. He carried her inside and laid her on the couch. You shouldn't have pushed yourself. Lyra's breathing was weak. It was worth it, she whispered. Your daughter smiled. He sat beside her through the night, holding a damp cloth to her forehead. Hope slept in a chair nearby, worried. Eli stayed awake, watching Lyra's slow breathing. By morning, her strength returned. When she opened her eyes, Eli let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. You scared me? He said quietly. Lyra looked at him with a soft smile. Then your heart knows mine. He laughed weakly. You talk in riddles, she smiled again, because truth hides in them. As days passed, Lyra recovered fully. The crops she had planted began to sprout, small green leaves pushing through red soil. Hope danced around them, shouting, It worked. It worked. Eli smiled proudly. Guess we'll eat better this season. Lyra stood beside him, the wind blowing through her silver hair. Your world begins to heal, she said softly. Maybe, Eli replied. Or maybe it's you who's healing us. She looked at him quietly. We heal each other. Time flowed like gentle rain. Months turned into half a year. Traders returned, this time more friendly, curious about the strange hybrid crops growing on Eli's land. They brought supplies, and soon the little workshop became a small trading post. People started calling it the Fox Den. Lyra liked the name. One evening, Eli finished fixing an engine and found Lyra sitting outside under the stars. She was holding something, a small metal ring she had shaped from ship fragments. What's that? He asked. A token, she said. On my world, when two souls bond, they give each other rings of light. I made this from what remains of my ship. It glows when near the one I belong to. He hesitated. Lyra. She looked up, golden eyes steady. You think too much. Just listen to your heart. He smiled softly. My heart says I'm not ready. Then I wait, she said simply. But know this, Eli Turner. I am already home. That night, when the desert winds sang outside, Eli dreamed of a future he never thought possible, one where laughter filled the house, where hope grew up surrounded by warmth, and where a silver-haired fox girl watched over them both. When he awoke, the house smelled of morning tea. Lyra was cooking again, humming softly. Hope was chasing a small robot mouse around the room. It felt like any normal day, yet everything felt different. Eli walked to the door, watching the horizon glow with sunrise. Lyra joined him quietly, standing close. Beautiful, she whispered. Yeah, he said, smiling. It really is. She tilted her head. You still afraid? Maybe a little, Lyra nodded. Fear means heart is real. He turned to her. And what if I say yes? What if I follow your world's law? Her tail swished happily. Then you fix not only ships, Eli Turner, you fix hearts. He laughed softly. You never give up, do you? Never, she said proudly. That is human way, yes.